Updated the 30th of May 2018 to 9:01 am. First published at 6:22 am. Labor employment spokesman Brendan O'Connor says Michaelia Cash needs to explain her role in the raids controversy and the situation is becoming untenable, to the point that Malcolm Turnbull should consider sacking Cash. Responding to the subpoenas, O'Connor told reporters in Canberra that Cash has refused to answer questions for 7 months and appears unable to do her job in Parliament, including appearances in Senate estimates hearings. "We don't know what she's aware of and not aware of, because she's refused to answer the questions of the Parliament. She has hidden behind public interest immunity," he said. "The minister has to front the Parliament and explain her position." The federal court has issued a subpoena requiring Jobs Minister Michaelia Cash to give evidence over her role in last year's controversial raids on Australian workers' union offices. The AWU is seeking to have an investigation by the government's Registered Organisations Commission quashed for being politically motivated. The Commission's investigation is into whether donations to the union from activist group Get Up were made according to proper processes. The issue blew up late last year when Cash's media advisor, David de Garis, was forced to quit after he admitted to tipping off the media about the raids, allowing cameras to be present and record the unfolding events. There is continued scrutiny on who in Cash's office knew and told de Garis to inform the media. Cash, who has denied she knew of her advisor's plans, is set to appear in court in Melbourne by August. As are de Garis and a Commission employee Mark Lee. The subpoenas also compelled de Garis and Lee to hand over relevant documents. The subpoenas were reissued after Cash failed in a bid to avoid handing over documents and a delay associated with an Australian Federal Police investigation into the leak. Michaelia Cash. Photo, Dominic Laurie-Mayer. If you'd like to watch the newly released promo for the Barnaby Joyce Vicky Campion interview, you can find it below. In it, a tearful Campion says, "You can't you help who you fall in love with, Joyce. I failed. Environment and Energy Minister Josh Frydenberg has expressed sympathy for Barnaby Joyce and his situation, declining to cast judgment on the former Nationals leader. Frydenberg told Sky News, "It is what it is. And he's now taken leave, which is something that obviously he has sought. And if it's right for him, it's right for us all." But he said he personally wouldn't have taken money for a television interview. And asked earlier on ABC Radio if he would be watching the much-hyped interview on Channel 7 on Sunday night. This is what the minister had to say: "Well, I'll probably have other things to do that night. But all of us know somebody whose marriage has broken down, and in many cases they've had another child. And this is difficult, it's very personal and it's not for others to judge," Frydenberg said. Josh Frydenberg this morning. Photo, Dominic Laurie-Mayer. Attorney General Christian Porter has been speaking about the government's new review of legislation governing Australia's intelligence and security agencies. Porter points to a threat environment involving unprecedented levels of espionage, foreign interference and terrorism, and the government's 10 rounds of legislation that have been introduced in response to that. Porter told Sky News it is chance to take stock, review and understand how everything is working. So when you've got two very large moving parts, the environment and the government's responses, the second designed to keep Australians safe, we considered and the Prime Minister considered that now is the time to have a top-to-tail review of all of the national intelligence community agencies, how they interact with domestic agencies like the AFP and others, and how the entire system interacts with the states and state police," he said. The review will examine resourcing, rules around information sharing, cooperation and coordination and oversight. Porter says one of the central concerns is the ability of agencies to share information with others, including law enforcement at the state and territory level. The review, itself a recommendation of a separate 2017 intelligence review, will be led by respected public servant Dennis Richardson, a former head of ASIO and the Department of Defense. Dennis Richardson. Photo, Andrew Mears. Welcome to the second day of this sitting week at Parliament House in Canberra. Today, Barnaby Joyce is in the headlines again. Debates over superannuation and tax cuts roll on. And there are more revelations about foreign interference in Australian politics. Here are the main stories this morning. Joyce is going on leave for 4 weeks amid the fallout over his paid television interview with new partner Vicky Campion. Labor has granted him a pair, meaning the government's majority will not be affected. Latika Burke, Fairfax Media. Chinese security officials who detained Sydney academic Chong Yifeng in 2017 spent a full day interrogating him about Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull's hand-picked China advisor, according to information gathered by national security officials. Nick Mackenzie, Fairfax Media. The biggest review of spy laws in more than 40 years will be unveiled today, amid growing concerns that national security agencies are unable to pass crucial information to police and other intelligence services about threats to national security. Paul Maley, The Australian. A long overdue shake-up of the family courts will aim to reduce the crippling delays and backlogs that have kept families in limbo for years in the heat of divorce settlements and custody disputes. Michael Cazial, Fairfax Media. Former Reserve Bank Governor Bernie Fraser, who has also served on the board of Australia's largest industry superannuation fund, has endorsed a sweeping overhaul of the $2.7 trillion system, and taken a swipe at underperforming fund managers. Eric Bagshaw, Fairfax Media. Home Affairs Minister Peter Dutton says the government is actively considering the domestic use of the highly secretive cybersecurity agency, the Australian Signals Directorate, to protect critical infrastructure as well as counter cybercrime. Laura Tingle, ABC 7.30. One of Bill Shorten's most trusted allies in the Senate, Kimberly Kitching, has distanced herself from former NSW Labor Premier Bob Carr in a dispute over a series of questions in Parliament that targeted a key government advisor on China. David Crow, Fairfax Media. My name is Fergus Hunter. You can find me on Facebook here and Twitter here. Photos today will be from Alex Ellinghausen and Dominic Lorimer. You can find them on Twitter, here and here. Your feedback and hot tips are always welcome at fergus.hunter@fairfaxmedia.com.au. Let's get into it. Barnaby Joyce during question time yesterday. Photo, Alex Ellinghausen.